Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And I have a really cool guest on today. Her name is Maya Weinreb, and she's going to tell us her story, and this is going to be fun. So you guys stay with us. And we're back. I am excited for today's guest. You guys are going to love this girl. Her name is Maya Weinreb, and she's going to tell us her story. So, Maya, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I'm excited that you're here. And our mutual buddy, oh, good Lord, who? Edwin, yes. Edwin referred you to me, and he said you are one of the smartest people he knows.
He said that. He never says that to me, so thank you.
He says he says that you are a real badass, so I'm excited to have you on. We have some people joining us. JR, good morning. Thanks for being here. So Maya, I started this show about 2.5 years ago to help people have a breakthrough. And, you know, we all go through crap in life, and a lot of people end up stuck in that crap and never get unstuck. And, you know, I think that by hearing other people's stories of how they went through the ups and the downs and they got through it, and I think that's healing. I think it helps people. So that's what this show is all about.
Yeah, I love it. I definitely have been in the ups and the downs. So
yeah. Well, let's start with let's talk about where you were born and raised. I'm going to give you the whole stage here and talk about where you were born and raised and what it was like growing up for you where you were born and raised, because I know a little more than they know as of right now.
Yeah. So I was born in Israel, actually, many years ago. Not that many, but some many years ago. And it was, you know, when I love Israel, all my family is there except, you know, my parents and my sister. And when you're born and raised somewhere, that it's kind of what you're used to. But I remember, you know, I was a kid and it was like 89, 90, and all of the windows were boarded up. And every time the sirens went on, we all went into the bomb shelter room, because every house and every apartment in Israel has a bomb shelter room. And it was really normal for me as a kid. I'm sure my parents were freaking out, but, you know, I remember even one time I was in the bath and the sirens went on and my mom ran in and grabbed me, and I was just so annoyed at her because, Mom, of course it's another false alarm. And, you know, and nothing bad ever happened to me or anyone in my family, but it's very interesting thinking about where I started and where I am now. So,
you know, what's crazy about that is people here in America, like, we don't really we've never really had to deal with that. like the possibility of sitting at the dinner table having dinner and a bomb falls on your house, and that's a real thing. That's a real thing that happens there.
Yeah, and at the time, everyone was worried about chemical warfare. So it wasn't even just worrying about the bombs. It was worrying about making sure, one, that they couldn't see us. So we had to have all our windows boarded up and blacked out. And two, we had to all go to the army barracks and get gas masks. And my sister and I were, you know, she was 2 or 3 and I was 5 or 6. So we had to have little kid gas masks. And I still remember the rubber smell. You know, it was like it was It was a whole, and hers was this whole contraption that looked like a vacuum cleaner because she was a baby.
Oh
So
my
everyone
God.
it was quite a time.
And how long did that go on? I mean, was that just a way of life forever, or was that like 9 months? Was it how long did that go on?
My parents wanted to get the hell out of Dodge at the time. So yeah, so for us, it seemed like a long time. And I'm sure it went on much longer after we left, but we actually moved to the UK, which was a drastic difference. So we lived there in a little town called East Grinstead for a few years where I went to school there. But so it was, as far as I recall, it was a few months of the whole gas mask and windows boarding up, but I think it lasted a lot longer, before and after. And even recently, I was in Israel last year visiting my grandparents, and it was, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Eurovision. I hadn't really heard of it, but that year it was being hosted in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and the Palestinians weren't happy about it. So there was rockets going off, and we were like, my uncle that I was staying with said to me, okay, just, you're sleeping in the room, that's the bomb room. So just so you know, we might all come join you in the middle of the night. And my stepsister, who was nearer to where the rockets were, could hear them all night. They were being,
What?
rocket. Yeah, recently. And I don't even think it was really in the news. Nothing happened. Israel's got their Iron Dome defense system. But apparently they pissed some people off by having their Eurovision contest held there.
What is what is that?
Oh, that's like, like X Factor or America's Got Talent. So
Yeah.
for all of Europe. So they have singers.
And why would the Palestinians not like that?
Who knows? I think they just don't like the fact that Israel exists. So whenever something is promoting Israel, they are unhappy about it. And again, not to get political, because I'm sure there are things that Israel has done that antagonize them.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to say that Israel is innocent, but definitely it was a little bit scary. And I called my dad, like, Dad, there's rockets. And he was like, don't worry about it. It's normal. You'll be fine. I was like,
oh
okay.
my God.
Yeah. So, and it is normal. Israel,
and he's like, don't worry, it's not going to land on you or near you.
Yeah, because they're not advanced enough to get into the cities. They're just like onto the outskirts. And Israel has, their defense system, and they're all organized. So none of the rockets make it into the central cities. It's just the outskirts of the towns.
That is insane.
Yeah. And that's just a way of life that they're tough people. I mean, we're tough people, but like, I don't even live there, so I'm not as tough as them. But they have, everyone goes into the military at 18 for a couple years, men and women.
Wow.
You walk around, there's all these young people with their military rifles, and I don't know what kind of guns they're called. Edwin would be mad that I don't know the name of these guns, but
right.
But it's just the way of life.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's an intense way to live. I mean, so you were there. You told me that you were there during the first Gulf War.
I believe, yeah, it was like, I remember being told Desert Storm. And when I looked that up when I was older, that was like the beginning of the Gulf War. So it was like 89, 90.
My younger brother was in the very first U.S. battle group, naval battle group. He was on an aircraft carrier. He was in the first group that started bombing whoever we were bombing. I
don't even remember. Was it like
Kuwait
or something? I don't remember. It was awful.
It was crazy. So wow, that was an intense period of time.
Yeah, but what's messed up about it is when you grow up in it, it doesn't feel intense. Like, I can only imagine now having kids and raising kids in that environment. I would be so scared,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on your show, but I would be very upset. But as a kid growing up in it, you're just like, da da da. And, you know, I like during the day, I'd be walking, and I was 5 or 6 years old, be walking to the corner store to pick up my parents' cigarettes and milk, you know.
Oh my
And then at
gosh.
night there would be sirens, and we'd be in the bomb shelter room.
What about like, because they also deal with terrorists sneaking into the country and doing crazy stuff. Do you remember any of that, or were you too young to really?
I was probably too young. I mean, I've definitely heard of some things. There would be like bus suicide bombers and things like that. But you know, like I don't think Israel ever had a school shooting that I can recall. Like their security is so good. Have you ever been?
No.
Okay, so when you go to the airport, like at LAX or JFK, and you're gonna go to Israel, the Israeli airline that, you know, other airlines go, but the national airline of Israel, El Al, there are security with guns standing there, and I don't think there's any other country that I've heard of that you try to get into or that I've seen at the airport that has as much security and as many like questions that you have to answer as getting into Israel or out of Israel. So it's it kind of makes me feel safer. Like I know I want my freedom as well, but at the same time, it's hard to get into Israel if you have bad intentions. Like if you live, you know, on the borders and you're going to shoot rockets, that's, you know, probably a little bit different, but or somebody convinces, you know, one of the Bedouins that live there or something to go explode a bus, that's different. But I feel really safe in Israel, and at the same time, they've got security guards, military, and metal detectors in every building, and everybody is armed, literally everybody. So it's not because there's military walking around, and they have to keep their, even if they have a day off or something, they have to keep their, you know, gun on them at all times. They're responsible for it. So if anything were to ever happen, and everybody is military trained, everybody knows how to handle a weapon because they grew up there and they were in the military. So it actually makes me feel safer. You do, it is crazy, right? Like you walk around in like Jerusalem, and I think in some places in Tel Aviv too, and you see these really old, dilapidated, falling apart, sometimes bombed buildings right next to brand new buildings.
Wow.
And the contrast is amazing, but that is Israel. It's like that history and the fight that they have, you know, like the passion and the will to live. So you really see it when you're there.
That's intense. I cannot imagine. And, you know, I think that Americans just don't realize, that because we don't have that. I mean, obviously we had 9/11, hence the first Gulf War. But like, we don't experience that stuff here. Like we
yeah. I mean, well, 9/11 was a lot later, so we've definitely had. Yeah, I was like, wait, hang on, let me do in my head.
But you're right. You're right.
I mean, even the things that we're going through now, where we feel here that we're having our freedoms taken away, like, and I don't love having to wear a mask when I walk outside, but I guess at least it's not a gas mask.
Yeah.
You know, at least it's not a military ordered for your own safety gas mask. So we definitely have, I mean, I love being in the US. The freedoms that we have here compared to any other country is, you know, so
you ended up leaving your parents. You said wanted to get the hell out of Dodge. You ended up leaving Israel and you went to the UK for a few years. And then at some point you decided to come to America.
Yeah, well, my parents did. I was still a kid. So they moved to Florida. So we went from Israel to cold and rainy England to Florida.
Wow.
Yes, like Tampa area. And that's where I went to high school at a private school, and that's where I lost my British accent that I had, after I lost my Hebrew accent that I had. So now
you have just a regular American accent. Like, it's
yeah,
crazy.
I know. It's good. Well, kids are mean when you have accent in school. So I lost that British accent quick.
Wow.
I learned English in England, and then, I spoke Hebrew, but I was too young. I didn't know how to read or write in Hebrew yet. So I could only write my name in Hebrew. And my mom has tried to teach me, but I can't do it. My sister can actually read and write in Hebrew, but she doesn't speak Hebrew. And I speak Hebrew and I don't read and write. So when we go through the airport together, we figure it out. She reads
Oh my God.
I tell her what they mean.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, so that was so that's where I learned, yeah, we are very blessed here in the USA.
We are, for sure.
So I lost that. I learned English in England, lost the Hebrew accent, learned to speak. Then I moved to Florida, and the kids were like, "Oh, pass the salt," and so I was like, "Okay," and I really practiced. And now, I've been living in LA for about 12 years or something. I'm glad I don't sound like a Valley girl. I just sound like a.
You kind of do, though.
Oh no! Like what? Like I was like, huh? I try not to. It comes out sometimes.
I'm kidding. So you ended up you went, and so did you go to like college? Did you?
Yeah, a little bit. I went to, so I started straight out of high school. I basically started doing bookkeeping kind of. So at some point I thought, maybe I could make a lot more money if I was a CPA. So I started going to school, but all of a sudden I'm taking like remedial algebra and stuff and English 101, and that was not exactly what I wanted to go to school for. And I realized with working a full-time job and going to school nights, it was going to take me about 6 to 8 years to get my first degree. And that was kind of not going to make me more money. That was kind of like, okay, let's do this plan where I can really make a lot of money by getting my CPA degree. And it was actually going to take so long that by the time I finished, I was going to end up in more debt and less money and less time to do the things that I wanted the money for. So I canceled that plan.
Right.
And decided I would just hire CPAs instead.
Really?
Yeah, I decided that was kind of like, okay, so why do I want to be a CPA? To make more money so I can do the things I want to do. But instead of doing that, why don't I just start a business? I didn't really do it. I didn't activate the plan, but it was in the back of my mind, like at some point I will have enough money that I'll just hire CPAs to work for me, and that's how I'll solve that. Grant always says, like, hire the smart people. So that was the plan.
So you started a business?
I did, but not right away. I basically was working in the financial field. Like I was the bookkeeper. I was the treasury manager for a vitamin company. I was the AR manager for a landscape construction company. I was the CFO for a marketing company. And then I started having, bookkeeping clients on the side because it was easy and I could do it and I could make some extra money. And at some point I talked to my boss at the marketing company, and I told him, listen, I'm actually making more money from my clients on the side than I'm making here. So, and we're friends. So he just said, you know what, that's amazing. Go into business. I fully support you. So I started my own company. All of a sudden I had too many clients. I started hiring bookkeepers, but that's only been a few years now. So,
wow.
so it grew. I mean, there's definitely that scary, oh my gosh, can I afford to? Because it's not that I was making enough money from my bookkeeping clients to cover my, my budget and my bills. It's more that I was like, but they're paying me more per hour than what you're paying me.
Yeah.
And so I had to take the plunge and figure out how to just start my business. And I took a loan that was going to cover me for about 3 to 4 months of bills, like not to build my business, but just to help me cover my bills.
Yeah.
And then it said, okay, I've got 3 to 4 months to get enough clients to cover my bills and go. And it was a scary time period, but it was fun looking back at it.
Here, Mark says, don't feel bad. I had to take a finite mathematics course to meet a college requirement to graduate.
Yeah, they start you out at I was like, what? I'm doing algebra again? And it was actually fun. I liked that algebra class, and the algebra teacher was really nice. He would tell me like, okay, so he's like, if you get a B or an A, I'll give you an A. But if you get a C or below, I'm flunking you. And I was like, okay. So
wow.
I was doing algebra every night for, after work for a couple of months. But I passed. I got an A. I was very proud of myself, but I wasn't going to go take the next class. That was the end of that.
What in the world made you, I guess, it's just maybe you live in left brain, you're analytical or something, but what made you like accounting? Who likes accounting?
Oh, you know what? I love accounting. I love bookkeeping. And I'm a people person, and I love doing sales as well, and I love talking to people. So it's actually very funny that I do love bookkeeping and accounting. But to me, it's so relaxing. It's like you can sit there and just do numbers and QuickBooks, and every once in a while there's a problem to solve, like, ooh, why doesn't it reconcile? And then you kind of feel like a detective, and you got to pull the string until you find that number. And these days, I don't even get to do a lot of bookkeeping because I'm running my company. So all day long, I'm talking to clients, I'm doing sales, I'm onboarding.
Wow.
And then at night, I get to sit down, between about 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., I get to sit down and take all the projects that my bookkeepers couldn't solve, or, the brand new clients I'm still onboarding. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. I don't have to talk to anyone. And I like talking to people, but it's just this relaxing, quiet, just concentrate on the numbers. And the numbers never lie. Numbers never have opinions. It's like the, universal language of logic. And it always just makes sense. And if the numbers don't match up, it's not because of someone's opinion. It's because there's a number somewhere that was wrong, and you find it and you fix it. I actually like algebra for the same reason, even though I didn't love having to do it every night. It's just like pure truth.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm also a sci-fi nerd, so it kind of makes sense. But I talk to other bookkeepers and accountants, and they say the same thing. Like, it's so relaxing. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to do someone's taxes and it's last second, that's not relaxing. But just sitting there and doing bookkeeping and reconciling, it's actually like, it's kind of like nice and easy. And a lot of bookkeepers and accountants just only do numbers, and they don't like to talk to people. They just want to look at their computer. But I think that's great, because those are the people that I want to hire. So I'll be like, great, you do the bookkeeping, you do the taxes, I will talk to the people, and I will get you clients. And then it's like this great Uber kind of thing. Yes, sci-fi nerds unite. Yeah, I'm at the end. Sorry, you're distracting me. I'm at the end of rewatching Star Trek, the original series.
Wow.
So just saying, full sci-fi nerd here.
Well, so my buddy Glenn Morshower was actually and he has an acting school too. He's been an actor for 45 years. He was in Star Trek: The Next Generation, I believe.
What
That's,
what part did he have? Did he have to wear like
um,
an alien costume or?
no, well, yeah, he played multiple. Roxy is actually part of his acting school. She's one of his students, and she's an
Oh,
actress.
cool.
And she probably knows all the roles. If Glenn is actually filming a movie right now in Louisiana, or he would be on here commenting because he's my best friend. But
Nice.
yeah, I don't know, he played different roles.
I've definitely seen him in movies, so I know that I've seen him, but I don't specifically recall what parts he had in Star Trek. But then
Yeah.
again, I haven't watched that one for a few
He
years.
was on the bridge. I do know that.
He was on the bridge. Okay,
Yeah, he
I'm
was
gonna
on.
rewatch it.
Yeah, he was. But anyway, and I know he played an alien role too at some point. So,
Nice.
um,
I'm watching the original series with those amazingly cheesy 60s costumes, and the women wear those like little skirts that are just like, and the aliens are all like,
yeah,
Captain Kirk makes out with everyone, and it's so much fun. It's so cheesy. It's like, oh, this is just. But you know what? Some of the sci-fi plots are not ones that have been used a lot. So some of them I'm like, wow, that's fascinating. What a great idea. They need to reuse that in something. Because
yeah.
watching the original series anymore, like I am. But it's fun.
That's awesome. So you went from Florida you said to LA. You're in LA now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that where you started your company? Yeah, I guess if it's only been a few years.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually a Florida company because I'm usually back and forth. I've been stuck in LA, since Corona, but I'm normally in Florida again half the year, and I'm actually going to be more there. But yeah, I started it in LA. I have a lot of clients in LA, but I have clients. It's virtual bookkeeping, so I have clients all over the country. I've got Midwest, New York,
wow,
Florida, LA, Oregon, all over.
That is so awesome. Wow.
Yeah. And with, Zoom and stuff, you still can have that personal connection of feeling like your bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Even though, we can't shake hands.
And you're a bookkeeper with a great personality.
Thank you.
Like that.
You have a great personality too, which is nice because you're like on TV, or on these interviews.
Well, I have to. Hopefully I can have some sort of a personality to do this, but with the, I mean, I've had lots of CPAs and bookkeepers over the years. I've always owned a business my entire adult life of some sort. And, you just don't run into a lot of bookkeepers that have outgoing personalities and smile a lot. And you have both.
Thank you. Yeah, I try to smile a lot. It's still early in the morning, but I'm keeping that smile. Yeah, I agree with you though. I find that to be the case as well. I have a lot of CPAs and other professionals that I deal with, and unfortunately, some of them are pretty condescending, or you send an email to your bookkeeper or your CPA and you don't hear back for 2-3 weeks. You don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Or they kind of have a my way or the highway approach. Like, if you don't enter your information in this particular way, then I will ignore you. And honestly, I hate that. I think it's other than the fact that it's terrible customer service, it's really old school. Like, bookkeeping and accounting is a service. So the whole point of a service is to help the business owner. My mission statement for my company is perfect and complete financial records for your peace of mind, for the business owner. So that's what I'm trying to accomplish. I have business owners talk to me all the time, and they're stressed out and they're freaking out, and they don't know their numbers, and they ask their CPA for a P&L and they never got it. And I just say, don't worry, I can handle that for you. And we send out, we'll do the bookkeeping. We'll send out reports every month. You'll always know exactly where your numbers are at. And I have a company policy where I we reply to all communication within 1 business day latest. Usually you'll get it within a few hours, but, you know, especially recently with Edwin, you know, promoting me, I've been like, okay, I'm trying to answer all my emails. Give me.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah, it's a great problem. So we're, but yeah, we always reply within 1 business day, even if it's just to say, okay, we're going to look into that for you, or we're going to research that, you know? So it's very different than what you see with other firms.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, obviously you started this, you were doing it as a side hustle kind of thing.
Right.
And then you decided, you know, I'm going to leave this job I have and do this full time. Took out a loan.
Mm-hmm.
Because you weren't making enough to pay your bills, but you took out a loan.
Exactly.
And you're like, holy crap, we're going all in on this thing.
Yeah.
And so you went
and
all.
there was no security blanket. There was no, you know, I already didn't live with my parents, so it was just like, figure it out.
Yeah. So you go all in on this, and it sounds like it's going pretty well.
It's going amazingly well, better than you know, it's always like hope for the best and plan for the worst, kind of like, and it's going so well. And I think mainly because I'm trying to do something different than what other people in this industry are trying to do. There's a lot of, you know, small freelance bookkeepers where it's like, you know, maybe mom had a few kids and now she wants to work from home. And so she just wants a few bookkeeping clients, and that's fine. But that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to create a bookkeeping empire where I'm able to help, you know, hundreds or, you know, maybe even someday thousands of small businesses, and just be that service for them so they never have to worry about their bookkeeping, their numbers, their payroll, and they can just concentrate on doing what they want to do, which is build their business. You know, they didn't sign up for having to deal with paperwork from the IRS, but that comes along with it, and we just take care of all that. And we do it with a smile and with really good customer service. And I like talking to them. I like helping them. I try to, you know, like when Corona started, I called all my clients.
That's my wife right there, by the way.
Oh,
she's watching.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Nice to, I don't know if I can say meet you since it's a thing, but I hope to meet you at some point. So it's, I forget where I was going, but it's just what I'm trying to do is very different. There's not very many big bookkeeping firms. I've only met a few. They're mostly really small. They don't really often like to talk to people. They don't really like to promote. It's all word of mouth. So I do get a lot of word of mouth and referrals, but I also really like to talk to people. I was saying when Corona started, I called all my clients to make sure they were doing okay. And I asked if they needed any help. And I, you know, helped them figure out their PPP loans and to see if they could apply for the EIDLs and if they, you know, qualified for any payroll tax credits and all that. So I did hours and hours and hours of research on all this stuff to really make sure that I could help them. And luckily, none of my clients actually went out of business, or, you know, I think all of them were affected. Everyone was affected financially to a certain degree, but they're all still in business. They're all still doing really well. So except for maybe a couple of my Hollywood people, because Hollywood is not going, and maybe they started back up, but
no, they haven't yet. Not completely. Like Glenn is filming a movie right now, but it's an indie film with John Schneider, who played Bo Duke on the Dukes of Hazzard.
Nice.
So it's indie films, really.
Yeah, exactly. So I have a couple of actors. They're kind of fine still, you know, because they had enough money set aside. But like I have a talent management company. She was hit pretty hard because her actors weren't working.
Yeah.
But other than that, everyone else was doing all right. I don't have any like restaurants or hotels or anything like that as clients. So all my service-based businesses were doing okay. And the Amazon businesses actually were doing great too.
Yeah. Wow. So, and I'd like to talk a little bit about the, I teach technology and social media stuff. So my business has been, I don't even feel like I sleep anymore. I've been so busy.
Yeah.
But for the people so I didn't go for any of the loans, or I'm anti getting the government involved if I don't want them in my business.
That makes sense. The rules were pretty stringent, and we don't even know all the rules yet for the money.
Right. They're just kind of releasing them as we go. It's like, what? But so talk about because I know that you are a PPP, right? PPP the loans.
Yeah.
Right. So you're an expert.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's things that I don't know because things are changing every day, but I would say I know more than all of my clients. So
if somebody is watching right now and they have a business, or maybe they're a subcontractor, or they're, like how can you help them with navigate? Because this is this is the craziest time ever, I think, on planet Earth when it comes to this stuff. So
yeah, definitely crazy. If I would say that you have to make sure that your basics are in, so you have numbers and you have bookkeeping, because if you don't have your numbers, you won't be able to apply for anything. So if you need help on that, I can definitely help. I can't fill out any loan applications for people because, you have to sign them, and I'm also not a loan processor. But I was helping my clients with all of their numbers that they needed to have for it. So, but I definitely have run into friends and people who talk to me who they didn't have their books and their tax structures set up correctly, and they weren't able to get any loans. Like, for instance, if you have an S corp and you pay everybody on 1099 and you don't have any payroll set up, you don't qualify for a loan because the loans are payroll loans. And I've had people say to me, yeah, but how do I get around that? And but I am paying out payroll because I'm paying out the 1099s, but it doesn't qualify because anybody who receives 1099 payments can apply for their own loan.
Right.
So it has to be, the PPP specifically is a payroll loan.
So can you get can you do it personally then if you're
No, not for the PPP. The PPP is specifically a payroll loan for businesses.
Got it.
So there's other things you can apply for. As an independent contractor, you can apply for the unemployment, the pandemic unemployment. You can apply for the EIDL loan, which was actually could get more money on the EIDL loan often, depending on the size of your business. But that one is based on your credit, and that one is non-forgivable, but it's a 30-year, no more than 3.75% interest loan. So that's a great thing to apply for if you need. Again, there's going to be rules and it's going to be audited. And so you want to really make sure that the information you provide and how you spend it is correct. If you get the EIDL loan, for instance, you can't spend it on any capital expenditures. You can't pay personal loans with it. You can't make large purchases with it. It's only for regular and usual business expenses. So it's policed. So, it's kind of like if you borrow money from your parents, they're gonna now start checking on you and making sure you're okay and telling you what you should and shouldn't do with your money. So if you take money from the government, same thing. Yeah. They are going to tell you what you can and can't spend it on. And PPP is forgivable, but they're changing the rules every day. So we'll see in the end, what occurs, but hopefully you'll be able to get it all forgiven if you spend it all on payroll and the forgivable expenses.
Right. Wow. And so you have these conversations every day with people? Every
day.
Yeah.
Several times a day. It's starting to taper off, less times a day, but still every day.
Yeah. Wow. That's intense. So, in your opinion, from what you've seen, and I know you've been at it now for a few years,
Mm-hmm.
um, and maybe not even from an accounting point of view, but what do you think is what do you think the number one thing is that stops people from true success and expansion and happiness in life?
Hmm. Wow, that's a tough question. There's probably a few different things, but I think it probably all comes down to self-imposed mental barriers. Um, I think that, and we've all been there, that we get too scared to make the next move, or we don't think we can have it, or we don't think that we can make that money. Or, to start a business these days, it's like, oh, well, you need a coach, and you need a marketer, and you need social media, and you need a business license, and you need a tax structure, and it gets overwhelming. And so we just don't do it. And you run into what a friend of mine likes to call analysis paralysis, of trying to even decide what type of company should I start and what should I do. And if you have a company, it's like, how do you take a deep breath and go to the next step? Either you don't know how, or you don't have the money. And it's there. I mean, there can be a lot of different things, but in the end, it's what we tell ourselves about ourselves. Like when I, for instance, had that 3 or 4 months of loans and then I had to get going, it was like, okay, I'm about to run out of money. I still
Yeah.
don't have enough clients. What am I going to do? And I had one of those days that I'm sure all entrepreneurs have had, where you kind of curl up in a ball
Yep.
and feel like everything is going wrong. And but I had to change the self-talk, right? I had to
Yep.
say to myself, and I really did this. I probably even said it out loud. I
Yeah.
said, you know what? It's just sales. I just need a few more clients. I'm good at sales. I can do sales. And my, mini, not so many panic attacks subsided. And, within a couple of weeks, I landed a really big client that I still have.
Yeah.
That was a large marketing company that needed full service. And that got me to my next, okay, I can do this. And I was, and I was at the point where I was just making enough money to pay my bills and pay the loans now that I had taken.
Wow.
So I think that, the circumstances are probably different for everyone, whether you're at that $1 million range and you don't know how to get to the next level, or you want to start a company and you don't know how, or whatever. It's that overwhelming, the fear of failure, the, like people talk about the imposter syndrome, feeling like, well, am I really good enough to charge money for this?
Yep.
But I think it all comes down to the negative self-talk and the unwillingness to just ignore that baloney and do it anyways.
Yeah.
That's probably my best answer to that. So the secret to happiness, it's sort of like, go and achieve your goals. So you're going to be unhappy if, one, you have no goals, or two, you're not overcoming the obstacles towards them. So you have to make those big goals, and then 10x those big goals in your head. Because if you're like Grant says this all the time. If you're like, I want to make $1 million, like $1 million is not so much anymore. It's,
Right.
and also if you shoot for the stars and you only land on the moon, then you only made your 500,000 or something. So 10x,
Yeah.
might go for the $10 million, and then maybe you fail. Oh no, and you only made 5 million. Like that's
Right.
not so bad. So it's make those goals and then go for it. And I read a definition of entrepreneur that was something like the ability to go from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm.
Yep.
Right? And you do run into failures as an entrepreneur. You get the client that's not the right fit, that you can't service them the way that you'd like to. You get disapproved for a loan that you really need. You get I just had this, your brand new assistant quits and you're like, I can't even keep an assistant.
Yeah.
So there's so many failures, and whether it's that you're, or maybe you had a restaurant and now you had to shut down your restaurant and now you have to go on to your next venture with no loss of enthusiasm, and you have to pivot. And it's hard, and you should, take your moment to be curled up in a ball and, hide under your covers, but then come out of it strong and keep going.
I totally agree with everything you just said. I just saw Edwin Dearborn is watching now.
Hi.
I think Edwin just joined. He's a good dude.
He's
So
he helps me too. Sometimes I have those moments where I'm like, and the client said this, and my bookkeeper did this, and he's like, okay, and he's just like, push on, and I'm like, okay. So,
and I think that, and you bring up a good point, that we all need, especially if you own a business, not just a business owner, everybody needs, we need other people that we can turn to, and mentors and coaches and people that we can lean on in the event that shit hits the fan, because it probably is going to. And you've got to be able to, I started my business, this company I've had since 2007, and I was fresh out of a divorce. I was living on a buddy's couch and had no job, no money. I had a car, probably wasn't going to last much longer if I didn't do something. And he goes, dude, here's $20. You need to figure it out and get the hell out of my house. Go get your own place. You're a grown ass man. And I'm like, that's not very nice. I thought we were best friends.
Now we just sit here and get drunk together and feel this.
Well, neither one of us drink, but so,
even better.
I said, wow, dude. And, I smoked cigarettes back then. I bought a pack of cigarettes that were $3, I think, back then, and put $10 gas in my car, had $7 left, and thought, well, I can hit the McDonald's dollar menu at least and not starve to death. And so I went out that day and just knocked on doors. I knocked on doors until my knuckles were bleeding, and I finally got somebody that said, yeah, I could use some website help, and hire me to do his website, do some, and gave me literally $300 down. That's it. But I'm going to tell you something. It felt like $3 million.
Yes, it was a win. It was an accomplishment.
Huge, right.
So down.
Yeah, and I didn't have an LLC. I didn't have shit. I had nothing. I was like, I'm just like, when he said, well, who do I make the check payable to? I'm like, my friends call me Cash. So, I'm just like, I don't know. And then I took that and I started my LLC, and that's, it does take that. And I had people around me helping me, encouraging me and all of that, but it takes that I'm going to make it work no matter what mentality.
Exactly.
No matter 100%. What. Yeah. So, and you've done that.
Yeah, I had to. And I was, living in LA by myself, and I don't have any family out here. My mom is great. She's like, you got this, you can do this. But my parents were never in a position to be able to just like bail me out or give me money. So it was all on me. And while I had many days of, I can't do this, I'm not good enough moments, I think that I would say one of my best qualities is that I am persistent, and I get up and I try again. Yeah. And that has gotten me, and I have huge goals, which I am not anywhere near yet, but I am 100% sure that I will get there because I'm building the team. And when I start doing that negative self-talk, I just tell myself to shut the hell up. Honestly, like, no, and I go do something productive. And I mean, sometimes I go take a walk, but these days I just go answer emails, or I go do some bookkeeping because I have so much to do. I can just ignore it because I'm so busy. So when you get to the point where you're so busy that you don't have time for your negative self-talk, that is an amazing milestone. And going from, and a lot of people get into that funk. I've gotten into the funk millions of times probably, but you get into that funk. And for me,
the fastest way out of that, and you kind of said it, is helping somebody else, reaching out to somebody else and helping them, or doing something really, really, really creative that's going to take you out of that mindset of, oh dear God, the entire world's collapsing in, which is all a bunch of BS. It's just your mind, right?
Totally. Or go do some bookkeeping. Bookkeeping will get you all relaxed and only thinking about numbers. Okay.
No.
Don't do
graphic design.
Yeah, I'm not. I am creative. Like, I painted this painting behind me at an art class.
That's nice.
But I'm not. I wouldn't, if I needed to get out of a funk, I don't think I could pick up a paintbrush or just like start doing something. I would probably start doing some bookkeeping. I would just be like, let me do something to get my mind up. Or, you know, maybe I'd find a good Star Trek episode and watch that or something. But it's but I do agree with you that you got to get out of it, and everyone's gone through it. When I first started my business, I had some really, really busy months, and I was pretty much on my own. So it's like I sold a bunch of work, and then I did a bunch of work, but then I didn't do any sales in the meantime. So all of a sudden I finished my projects and I had nothing to do.
Right.
And that is awful, because it's like you worked your ass off and you pushed night and day to get all these projects done, and you were so busy that you didn't think about sales, and now you're burnt out because now you have to go start drumming up business again, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And I think I went through my first like entrepreneur depression, you know, where I was telling my friends I'm depressed. And my friends were like, no, I don't think you know what that means. Like, you're not depressed. Depressed is when you don't want to get out of bed and you're really unhappy. And I was like, no, that's it right there. I'm depressed. and it's, you know, it's not like it was like clinical depression or anything, but I didn't want to get out of bed. No one cared if I got out of bed. That was the realization I had. Because it's my own business. It's working on my own steam. I don't have a boss. No one cares if I get out of bed or not.
They don't.
As much as that idea of that is lovely, when you have a boss and you have to go to work every day, and if you don't show up, they yell at you, or, you know, they at least call you.
Yeah.
It's the realization that literally no one cares what I do was a tough bullet to swallow. Yeah. And it took me a long time to get out of that and be like, okay, well, I care. And I have people who work for me and they care, you know, because I have to get them business. I'm supposed to get them clients, you know, so they have work to do.
And so, your clients probably care.
You know, the clients, they don't know, right, what I'm doing, because I'm working from home. And especially because I had a lot of the bookkeeping at that point was being done by my bookkeepers, and I was supposed to be, I would still do some of it. I would probably do half, but I was doing projects and things like that. And so I wasn't doing like the monthly recurring bookkeeping. So all of a sudden I had no more projects to do, and my bookkeepers are still working, but I didn't have anything to do. So no one cared.
Wow.
And it's weird, right? When you first realize that, like there is no one else's steam that you can, you know, coattail onto. You have to do it yourself. You have to, and I know, like, and I still don't have this all worked out, but like I study entrepreneurs, and I read Grant Cardone, and he talks about, like, you know, making sure you get your 8 hours of sleep, and you get up and you exercise and you do your morning routine. Like, oh my God, I'm so bad at that. But it makes sense to me why you do that now, where because I hate mornings, and it never made sense to me before why you have to get up at 6 a.m. and exercise. But you have to have that discipline. Yeah. Because what are you going to do on those days when you feel like poop, and you don't have a new project to start, and you don't have any money, and the only thing you can do is go and
she's in Australia.
It's early in the morning for me here in LA. I mean, early for me, but not early for other people. Yeah. Yeah. So what are you going to do when you have nothing except for what you create on your own steam? If you don't have that discipline, you've got nothing. So it was quite a wake-up call and realization for me that I had to create my own steam.
So if somebody called you, back when it was a couple years after I met my wife, I had my company. It was, I was in the same thing. I was selling jobs. I would do the work and then be done and like, oh God, I got to get another job now. I forgot that I needed to be selling at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard.
And so and you don't really forget. I think it's almost like you hope that the phone rings and you don't have to like make all those calls and stuff.
Yeah, but also you get so busy on
right.
the production side of whatever you sold that then you go, oh, now I finished. No.
Yeah, you're wearing multiple hats, and so you're going through all, and so my wife and I got our first office, stopped working from home, got an office, and had some employees, and one day this dude walks in my office and he goes, he worked for me. He goes, hey, there's a guy out in the parking lot looking in the windows of your SUV. And I go, well, tell him to get the hell out of here. And he goes, well, I would, but he has it blocked with his tow truck. I was like, he was there to repossess my car.
Oh,
and
no.
So everybody else got paid except for me. And so that was a humiliating day. It was a day that I'll never forget and a day that I never want to relive again. But I felt like in that moment, like this is never gonna stop. This is horrible. What you were just talking about. I wanted to run home and crawl under the covers, but I didn't.
Good.
If somebody called you,
once you do that, you stay there all day.
Yeah, right. If somebody called you and said, Maya, I'm trying everything I've done is no longer working. I'm at a loss. My car was repoed last week. My electric's being shut off tomorrow. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? How would you help that person in that moment get over that hump? Because and I know that it's this too shall pass. It's gonna pass, and you'll be okay. But what do you say to that person to help them?
I think the first thing I would tell them is the same thing my dad always tells me, which is, it's early in the morning for her. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
The same thing my dad always tells me when I call him when I'm upset about something is he says, Maya. Yeah, because I talk very fast. Did you eat? That's the first thing he says to me. And I'm like, no, who remembers to eat?
Yeah, right.
So he tells me, eat, take 500 B1 and call me back. This is always my dad's advice.
Wow.
And it's the best advice ever because you go make yourself some food or you go find food, eat it. You take the B1 vitamin, right? It's like it helps with that mental energy stuff. So I do that. And then that is the first thing I would tell anyone because you can't do anything when you're all in your head and upset, right? So it's like, let's get out of that. And then I would probably tell them to take a walk. And when they were feeling a little bit better and, go look around, take a walk, then the next thing it would be like, what can you accomplish? Like find something that you can accomplish that's going to put you in the direction that you want it, whether maybe it's writing down, your goals and purposes and your plans, scale. So maybe it's doing that. Maybe it's, okay, what's the first thing in front of you? Well, I got a letter from the IRS. Okay, let's pick that up. Let's figure out that next thing in front of you. Get one small win.
Yeah.
One small thing that you accomplished in the direction that you want to accomplish.
Yep.
And then move forward. Because other than and like I said, my dad always tells me, take me one, call me back. But other than that, it's, I wish I would have someone to say that to me sometimes. Like, okay, what is one thing that you can accomplish that's in front of you? Because as soon as you get it done, even if it's one email you have to write or one client you haven't confronted that you should have answered a long time ago or something.
Yeah.
Or you have one letter that you need to take to the post office and mail. You do that one thing, you'll instantly feel 1,000 times better because you got something done.
That's so awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Maya, what's your website address? I should have asked you that in the beginning.
Oh, no problem. I probably should have just said it anyways. It's solvencynow.com.
Solvencynow.com. SOLVENCY?
Yeah.
Not and NOW.com.
Yeah. Solvencynow.com. My exactly that. My email address is maya@solvencynow.com.
Okay.
And also you can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn under Solvency Now, a bookkeeping firm, or Maya Weinreb. I'm not picky. I take communication from anything. You can find me on Skype, and I always answer my communication. So I tell people this. I probably could find a smoke signal if someone needed me. I'd be like, yes, you. How can I help you?
What's your ideal client look like?
My ideal client would be, I really like the service-based businesses. I don't do a lot of product-based businesses. So law firms, doctors, dentists, marketing companies, creatives, like the graphic designers, anywhere, and the small businesses, anywhere from, depending on where you are in the country, but like, let's say a $250,000 to that $5 million range is still considered small businesses. And I can help those, because once you get, a lot bigger than that, then you need someone full-time in-house.
Yeah.
And when you're smaller than that, you're not quite ready to hire someone. It's going to be too expensive for you, most likely. Not always. I do have some micro companies that are either brand new or they're just small, but they have really low overhead and they want to pay someone to do their bookkeeping. And so I do that for them. But in general, it's like that $250,000 to the $5 million range. And we're well organized to help all those companies. I can't really do restaurants or hotels because they're all different setup, but consultants, marketers, management companies, doctors, lawyers. I have lots of doctors and lawyers these days, and I love helping them. So,
Maya, you rock.
Thank you. You too. I love doing this.
I love your energy. I love your spirit. You're a smiling, happy accountant. Like that's
I mean,
an oxymoron.
I didn't get a degree, so you can't call me an accountant. But yeah, I know.
Bookkeeper.
Exactly. Bookkeeper. I'm a bookkeeping firm owner. So there you go. But yeah, I really love helping people. I talk to people, new businesses all the time. And one of the first things I tell them, because they're always really worried about what do I need to do with the IRS, and just because I want to say this on air, the first thing to do is make money. Go sell something. The IRS can't tax what you don't have. So before you worry about your tax structure and, what you should be doing or saying or, insurance or all that, go make some money. Figure out what you're going to sell and sell it. And then once you're making some money, then you hire someone to help you figure it all out. And it's never as stressful as you think it's going to be. It's never as bad. And you just find me, preferably, or someone like me, and we just say, don't worry, I got this. You will be fine.
That's awesome. Everybody go check out Maya at solvencynow.com. Follow her, friend request her on Facebook, LinkedIn, probably Instagram and Twitter, I would imagine. And
not Twitter. I haven't figured out Twitter, but I'm on Instagram. I haven't figured out how to make glamorous pictures of bookkeeping yet. So there's not too much Instagram activity, but yeah, definitely Facebook and LinkedIn, and you can find me anywhere. solvencynow.com, Maya@solvencynow.com, and I will get back to you ASAP, and I will help anyone who needs help, even if they just need advice. I do free consultations, so I've helped a ton of people just answer questions, and then they're like, "How much do I owe you?" And I'm like, "Oh no, that's a refer me someone, but this is a free consultation, So I help people."
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Maya, you rock. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story and your experience. And wow, so awesome. So thank you. Stay with me. Don't hang up. I'm going to end the live stream though. So thank you to everyone who's been on here. Thank you to anyone who shared this out. You rock. Thank you so much. Maya, thanks again.
Thank you for having me. Okay.
It's been an honor.
Staying on. Okay.
All right. See you in a second. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.